Came on. I think we're a couple of minutes past, so yeah, we might as well get started.
Right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Juriba's official Windows 11 assessment service launch. This is a really exciting time for us, and we're so thrilled that you could join us today. In this webinar, we will be introducing the Juriba Windows 11 assessment service. This is the fastest way to determine your hardware and software compatibility for Windows 11 and kick into actual migrations in a matter of 2 to 3 days. Our CEO, Barry Angell, as well as our pre-sales analyst, David Higginbotham, and our implementation specialist, John Garner, will walk you through the details of the service and show you in a live demo what you can expect when signing up. So, without further ado, my name is Monique Commandier, and I'm the marketing manager here at Juriba. Before we get started, it is important for you to note that this webinar will be recorded. We would like this to be an interactive experience, so there will be a poll along the way, as well as a Q&A session at the end of the event. If you just click the box towards the bottom right of your screen, type in your question and submit. We will do our best to get you to all the questions. Fantastic. Barry, hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Juan. And welcome along, everyone. So what we're going to do is quickly whiz through a few slides just to set a context around our new Windows 11 assessment service, and then we'll get into the meat of it, which is really running through a live demonstration of what this would look like in your environment. So I wanted to start by just saying thank you to everyone that signed up today. We are in a new partnership with an organization called One Tree Planted, and every sign up that we had for the webinar means a tree getting planted. I think it's in Uganda for the one that we've signed up to, and you can see that there's a large impact of us being able to support organizations such as this. So very pleased that we're able to and you guys are able to help get these trees out there to where they're needed. So now today we're going to be talking about the Windows 11 assessment service. So typically the outcome really of the next 45 minutes is that we would like to spend some time articulating the kind of challenges that your organization might face when moving to Windows 11, obviously based on some of the experience we've had over the last couple of months and building this assessment service. The methods that we can use to assess compatibility analysis of hardware and software. So again, understanding not only what you've got, but how compatible it is with the new operating system. And then finally, how this assessment service accelerates you to that goal of being able to have your planning done as quickly as possible and getting ready for moving into migration mode. Now, just as a reminder, our bronze service, and I'll cover these in a minute, but our bronze service is free to all existing customers. So whether that's a direct customer or whether it's a customer that's through a partner of ours, we will provide this bronze service for free. And for everyone that signed up today, if you want to take one of the other services, there's a 30% discount available as long as you sign up within the next 3 months. So both of those obviously available right now. Now, I wanted to spend just a few minutes on how we get to Windows 11. So at Juriba, we typically break this down into 5 key phases. So understanding what you have with an audit and an assessment and whether it's compatible, then testing some of your applications and repackaging those applications if needed for new platforms, moving all of that information and data into a project where workflows can then be assigned and effectively automated so that you get to a much more zero-touch delivery mechanism. Moving to the end user engagement. So how do we communicate with our end users about this change that is going to happen to them? Can we engage them in self-service slot booking for replacements, that kind of thing? And then finally, moving into being able to deploy Windows 11 at scale in the fastest possible time so that we're not up against the deadlines that Microsoft has given us for end of life on Windows 10. And ultimately, if we look at how these things have been done in the past, there's a lot of spreadsheets, there's a lot of manual application testing. There's a lot of repackaging of applications, again, sometimes very manually. There's different people and processes that are involved. And what we're really trying to do with Juriba's workplace automation platform is to bring all of these elements into one single central place, where not only will you get a pane of glass and automation around how we deliver this, both to direct customers and through the partners, but also that we are providing a lot of efficiency around that application management space in getting the right applications ready at the right time. Now, how does the assessment service look? So what we've done is we've broken the assessment service down into 4 different tiers. So if you're just interested in a hardware assessment, that's the bronze version. So that's going to take a feed from your existing inventory system, and we're going to analyze those devices against some compatibility data that we hold for Windows 11 hardware compatibility and budgets. What we're also able to do with all of these services is then bring that data into a project and enable you to manage some workflows and actually migrate a small number of devices. Now, the difference with the silver and gold services is that essentially, in addition to the hardware compatibility, we can now do some application testing. So this is typically designed for what we would call your business critical apps. So being able to take some of these applications and test them against either a vanilla Windows 11 image or actually on-premise at a customer site on a customer VM, with all of their group policies and back-end connectivity. And then as we move into the gold, we're also able to repackage some applications in an automated fashion as part of this service. So if, again, we're looking to move to Intune as a delivery mechanism, and we want to repackage to Intune Win format, or maybe we're looking at MSIX to move again to Intune or maybe AVD, then we can dip our toes into the water with this assessment service, and we can automatically repackage some applications within this cost. And then finally, the platinum service is where we are completely on premise, and we can then add in an organizational layer of information. So we can then tell you exactly what the budget should be by location for new hardware, or what the budget should be by department for that hardware replacement. So the idea there is that you're getting the full suite of information that we can then use to analyze and assess your environment in the most complete way. But each of these is very tailored, and each of these has a fixed price to it. So you can see that at the bottom. And we typically, or through our partners, will deliver this in a very short time frame to give you the most value. And you'll see some of that value as we go through. But these are essentially the services. The final thing to talk about this slide is cloud versus on-premise. So we have this service available as both options. With the cloud option, we can do all of the bronze service, and we can do currently vanilla Windows 11 image testing. If we're on-prem, we can do full testing of applications. We are hoping in the next month or so to complete testing on the ability to have the virtual machines actually on the customer premise and still report that red, amber, green status back to our cloud. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to offer this as a cloud service, but use on-premise virtual machines in the near-term future. But more on that as we take it through the development cycle, and we make sure that we're able to offer that as an option. But essentially right now, it's either cloud or it's an on-premise option. And then what we're doing with the service is that we're really trying to get to the outcome. So in other words, we've got, let's say, 50,000 devices in a particular estate. What is the upgrade path for those 50,000 devices based on a bunch of criteria? And this is the workflow or the flow diagram, if you like, that we use to identify whether it's a new virtual machine, whether it's a hardware refresh candidate, whether we should go wipe and load, or whether we can do an in-place upgrade. And so ultimately, the idea being that at the end of this service, you know exactly how to get your devices, the hardware, from A to B. Now, we've also been piloting and previewing this service. So 3 of our existing customers have been part of a pilot here. That has given us data on over 350,000 devices. And what we've found is that there is a significant number of hardware devices out there that don't meet the compatibility criteria for Windows 11. So consequently, we're all looking at a relatively large budget required to get there for Windows 11. So we need to start thinking about that now. Excuse me. So the next part of the service is really around application testing. So how do we take that application estate and actually test that against Windows 11? So again, looking to how we do that as an automated process, and David will be talking us through this particular element. And what I wanted to do was just really talk finally about what the assessment service looks like in action. So with the customers that we've had going through the preview, we've been able to iterate this service. I think we've now got it to a great state, and the guys are going to take us through exactly what that looks like in action. So John, over to you first.
Okay, thank you, Barry, and thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, so initially I'd like to start off with just some of the benefits of the service, and then we'll look at a live demo of the dashboards that have been created in our demo environment. And then I will, if we have time, I'll walk through the actual presentation that we give back to all our customers and make recommendations based on the data that we've surfaced, as it were. So I'll just share my screen and then we will carry on. Oh, Barry, could you? It's left. Barry needs to stop sharing. Oh no, it's allowing me to share now. Okay, hopefully everybody can now see my screen. So with the Windows 11 service, we had a similar Windows 7 to 10 or Windows 10 service. This is an iteration of that, and it's been made a lot more slick and with lots of nice graphs, etc. So what are our objectives, focus and value? Objectives, obviously, and these are all primarily customer objectives, questions that you may be asked, but we're looking at to automate the collection, enrichment, analysis of your hardware landscape. Obviously, this works smarter so that we can expedite the delivery of all these pre-planning stages that you need to go through when moving to Windows 11. And typically an assessment can be done for an existing customer who's using Dashworks or maybe in the cloud. That was within 2 days, 2 to 3 days. For a new customer, we need to install Juriba Dashworks, and typically the assessment will take 5 days. But either way, typically it's 97% faster than doing it with spreadsheets and creating everything from scratch. As we've seen, this is, I wouldn't say pre-canned, but it has been very carefully created. Years of experience working with different customers, different projects, and kind of knowing what kind of questions you get asked at the beginning of any project, and what things can you deliver in advance of actually doing the project to make things go a little bit more smoother. And then, as Barry mentioned earlier, we now have the application piece, so we can automate the testing of, depending on which service you go for, a subset of your applications. So the overall focus, just to reiterate, Windows 11 migration readiness, that's why we're all here today. The hardware compatibility against Microsoft's recommended specs for hardware. The migration paths based on the current estate, whether that would be a wipe and load, an in-place upgrade, hardware refresh. We've introduced the concept of a component upgrade. So in some cases, if it's just the RAM that's stopping you moving to Windows 11, then you could stick another stick of RAM in there and save yourself changing the whole device and obviously the cost involved in that. So we try to split that out. Where there's upgradable components, we will show that. Application compatibility, again, as previously stated, we test a predetermined number of applications against either your Windows 11 image, if it's ready, or a vanilla Windows 11 image. And then your pre-migration remediation. These are the tasks that you can start to doing now in advance of the actual migration. Get the devices ready, replace any devices beforehand, etc. And then budget planning. We give you that useful information through the data so that you can start requesting budget or requesting the money to be able to then and start planning, I suppose, as well, to add some of these devices into your hardware refresh lifecycle. The next screen, so what's the value? Reviewing the hardware compliance, TPM, chipset validation, upgrade path determination, and then data to drive that hardware refresh that may be needed. Applications, we're looking at Windows 11 compatibility testing against the images, as I said earlier. Identify applications that require any remediation, and then demonstrate savings through automated testing. We can very quickly test your applications rather over doing it manually in any testing methods that you have currently. Business value. So you're getting this useful data in advance to be able to start doing the planning and costing these downstream transformation activities. You can understand the top challenges, and every customer will be different, but the actual presentation we give back to you is tailored for your organization based on the data that we've found or the outcomes. And then identify candidates for Windows 11 pilot. You may and hopefully you will have some devices that are ready to go now, hardware-wise. They may be fully compliant, and so we can identify those and then demonstrate the efficiencies through workflow automation, which is obviously Juriba Dashworks is a full project automation tooling, and we can give you a demonstration of that. The assessment comes with a pre-built project or a project template, which can get you started straight after the assessment if need be. But we will take you through the tool and how that works and everything that's involved within the tooling. So what are the deliverables? We have the assessment dashboards, which I will show you in 1 second. An assessment report, I will give you a preview of that after the dashboards. And then we do a finding workshop for every customer. At the end of the assessment, we will take you through the results, show you what we recommend and any potential next steps that you might need to take. And as I just mentioned, the Windows 11 project template. So it's a fully formed Juriba Dashworks migration project, built-in data feeds, migration paths, readiness criteria against the hardware, and then email templates that you might want to send out to your end users and any self-service options within the tooling. So that can be demoed at the end of the service as well, all included. Just a quick highlight there of the dashboards that we provide. I'm about to show you those on the next screen anyway. So if I just stop sharing that and move here. Right, so this is our demo environment. This is what we call Juriba Dashworks, and this is the evergreen view. And we have a number of dashboards that we've created for this service. So at a high level, we've got the executive summary. And as you go through each dashboard, you can drill down on the data, you can hover over the tabs, etc. You can turn off different views. So it's fully functional, and all the underlying data you can export and analyze outside of the tool, but hopefully we'd like you to do it within the tool. So hardware compliance, we have the device type hardware compliance. So that's whether it's a virtual device, desktop or laptop. And again, you can see how many are compatible and how many aren't. Manufacturer's hardware compliance, that at a high level, that's just by manufacturer, Lenovo, HP, etc. But we do have another report that will allow you to break that down further by model. and you can see which model types may be causing you problems. The OS release support. So although Microsoft has specified it has to be a current version of Windows 10, so these devices are running Windows 10, but some of them might be on an earlier release, like 1709, 1809 or something like that. And again, that data is fully mineable. The next dashboard that we provide is we then look at each component and try to show those as individual pieces. So processor compliance, and then we have memory. So up to 8 gig plus, 4 to 8 gig, and then these are below 4 gig. So obviously they are not currently suitable for Windows 11. The hard drive total size, the reasons, non-compliant reasons. So all the way through the assessment, what we're aiming for is to get you to that kind of holy grail of being able to do an in-place upgrade. You might not want to do an in-place upgrade. We can quite easily within the data accommodate wipe and load as well. But all the measurements are done against in-place upgrade. So for these devices here, we can do a breakdown, and you can see a lot of cases the CPU is not supported, but there may be multiple reasons why a device cannot have an in-place upgrade. UEFI BIOS, whether it's compatible or whether it's not actually turned on. And then secure boot. Although you don't have to have secure boot turned on for Windows 11, it does need to be capable. So in this case, we had a number of devices where it was turned on, which is all well and good. We have a number of devices where secure boot is turned off, but it is capable. And then we have a number of devices that would require a BIOS change. And I quite like this next graph. This is the TPM. So the current version of TPM that's running, obviously the requirement is for TPM2. So these devices are all running TPM2 and they're capable. These devices are currently on 1.2, but they are capable. There's got 1,364 that are capable of running TPM2, but the other ones are actually stuck at 1.2 and can't be upgraded further. So with that being on the TPM chip, the device would probably need to be replaced. So they would fall into the replacement category. Then the next screen is the migration paths. So based on the Microsoft recommendations and different criteria, we can then see how many machines are for a wipe and load, in-place upgrade, etc. For in-place upgrade, it's just a single number. These are all good to go and could be migrated now. Wipe and load, they meet all the criteria, but they either don't have enough free space on the hard drive to accept an in-place upgrade, or their OS version is below the current version, current Windows 10 version. So we can identify those independently. As I said earlier, there may be multiple reasons, or it may be just a single reason. But it's good to be able to show that data and make it presentable, as it were. Hardware upgrades, same kind of thing, different reasons for hardware upgrade, either the hard drive total size. Now, these are things that can actually be fixed. You might want to do a whole hardware refresh on that device. You just want to maybe swap out the hard disk or put some more RAM in there to make it fully compatible. And if these machines had extra RAM, they would then be suitable for an in-place upgrade. It meets all the other criteria. For hardware refresh, again, the graphs are slightly different, and in the presentation, I can give you the reasoning behind each of these. But either the CPU is not supported, needs to have the machine replaced, or the TPM version is not supported, we're stuck on 1.2, needs to have the machine replaced, or it requires a BIOS change. We took a bit of a flyer on that one, but basically we've said that if the BIOS is currently not UEFI, and it's only a small number of machines in most cases, then it's not capable of running a UEFI BIOS. But you have the data there and you can investigate those machines independently. And then provisioning a new VM. The criteria for that is we've got 7 Windows 10 virtual desktops, and the assumption will be made that they would just be replaced with a Windows 11 virtual desktop. The last screen I'd like to show you, if I can just move this bar from the top, I won't do it that way, is for the crosstab report, which is included, and that is migration paths by manufacturer, device type, and model. So within here, we can see the migration types across the top, whether desktops or laptops, and then going down into that for HP or Lenovo, for example, we then split that out by the model, and you can see for each type, for each device type, the different numbers and any devices that may be causing specific problems. And as I said earlier, you can drill down into that data and pull back a list of those devices. So I've got a couple of minutes. I'll just quickly walk you through the actual presentation, which you would get. And it will be a bit of a whistle-stop tour for this one. So on there, the findings presentation. So every customer will get one of these. It's the final part of the assessment, and we do present this back to you on what we found based on your environment. So initially high level, how many devices there were. Then we start to break that out by desktops and laptops. The criteria that we've used, which is Microsoft's minimum system requirements. How many devices could actually be upgraded now? How many would either need a component upgrade or a replacement? And then these graphs are the same as the ones that you've just seen, but we will just talk you through those and the meaning of each one. Hopefully we're trying to answer these questions on the right-hand side. So how many devices can I migrate now? Which ones do I need to remediate, etc.? Can I identify and plan for any additional cost of replacing incompatible devices? And then as we start to go through this, for each data point, we then start to show you the criteria, show you each upgrade path, and then we break that out into the criteria reviews, how many of each device met that criteria, and then a percentage across the board of how many devices were ready to go, how many needed wipe and loading, hardware refresh, etc. And then additional insight is just the cross tab. And the final part of that would be any recommended. So this is different for every customer. You can't really kind of pre-can this. Each customer is different. We look at the data and then can kind of make recommendations of things that need to be done. Make a decision on what your migration criteria or methodology would be. Do you always do a wipe and load? Is your aim to be able to in place upgrade everything? Are you going to do component upgrades, or are you just going to replace the machines that don't meet the criteria? And then we try to break that out. I mean, everybody has a calculator, right? But we've just taken an average cost, how many machines would need to be replaced, and then multiplied that and to come up with these figures. And then there's just another couple of recommendations on there, and some next steps there. So deciding your migration strategy, remediating devices, etc., etc. And that is it from me. Obviously, if you have any questions, just put them into the chat, into the Q&A, and we'll try to answer those at the end. Thank you.
Okay, great stuff. Yes, thank you very much, John. So just to reiterate, what John just took you through there is the bronze service. So this is us looking at hardware compatibility with Windows 11 and defining the route that each device should take to get there. Obviously, as part of the service, we also want to look at applications. So that's the piece that David is now going to take a look at with the AppM product.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, so with AppM, what we're enabling you to do is to quickly test your critical applications for compatibility with Windows 11. And we're also giving you the opportunity, if you're interested in moving to new formats, to repackage applications to those new formats. So you might be interested in MSAX App Attach. If you move into AVD, you might be interested in Intune, but we're giving the opportunity to do that. We can get the applications into AppM. We can do an import from SCCM, or we can upload applications into AppM manually. And like I said, as what we're doing is we're giving you the opportunity to compatibility test against a build of Windows 11. If we're in the cloud, then this will be a vanilla image. If we're on-prem, then it will be your image with all your GPOs and customizations. In terms of the output that we get from AppM, then for the testing, there is a dashboard. So in this case, we're doing a smoke test of those application packages against this Windows 11 build. Each application receives a RAG status as it's tested, so we get a success, a warning, or a failure. And there's also a full log collected for each application that we test against the build. And we can see the results. And if I just reordered this, we can see we've got some applications which have failed. For each test, as I said, there's a full log that is collected. There's an automated process for testing the applications built into AppM, which AppM follows for each application. Basically, we connect to VM, we log on as a specific user, then we execute the package to install the application. Once we've installed the application, we launch any shortcuts that we find, and we make sure that the application opens up okay. We make sure it then closes down okay, and we make sure that it also uninstalls successfully. All the time we're running the test, AppM is scanning the event logs on the VM. Anything that appears as an error is echoed in the log file. And what we also get is a series of screenshots and a video of each test, so we can see exactly what the issue is. If it's not clear from the log, then we can see in the screenshots what's actually gone on, or in the video. And you can step through and we can see, for this particular application, then we have generated an error, and it's a very specific error, is that this operating system is not supported by this application. So this application is not compatible with Windows 11. And equally, there may be applications which generate warnings. A warning might be just that the application has triggered a reboot of the VM during the installation or uninstallation process. And that may be deemed as normal behavior, and that may be acceptable. But again, you get a full set of results and series of screenshots and a video for each test. In terms of scheduling the tests, it's a simple process to go through to schedule those tests. It's just a case of selecting which build you want to run against. It'll be Windows 11, and then which applications you want to run. Being for the assessment service, you want to add all the applications in the catalog, because it's going to give you a set number of applications that you can import, and then just add all the applications and select to run the test. AppM will happily go away and test all those applications in sequence and give you a full set of results into the dashboard, which will be out of view. So that will be the application testing piece as part of the assessment service. As mentioned, we also give you the facility to repackage to new formats. There's a process in AppM, self-contained process for packaging applications, either from source, or we can do an MSI repackage. There's some discovery details to fill in. I'm going to choose a simple application just for the purposes of this demonstration. Find a few details to AppM, like the manufacturer, the version, and the application name. Once we have all that in, then we just select what we need to do. Now, in this case, I could do an MSI repackage against Windows 11. We can optionally support prerequisites. If the application does have prerequisites, then we can upload these into AppM and we can add those as prerequisites to the application. We can also do package upgrades, but that wouldn't really be relevant as part of this assessment service. And now I just need to add my files into AppM. I have an application here. So it's packaged to MSI. Upload the application source. Successfully uploaded. If I go to my application details, I can see it's in packaging. What AppM is going to do now, it is going to generate me 4 formats. Well, I'll show you an example. This will take a little while just to run through this, but I'll show you an example of what we get as the output from AppM. So I'll use the same application, but the output we receive is 4 different formats. So we receive an MSI, an AppV, MSIX, and an AppAttach package. And then they're then available for you to download and test if you want to. We do have Intune Win support coming in the next release of AppM, which is due out very soon. So that'll be another format that will be generated as part of the assessment service. And as I say, once you've got the packages, you can optionally download these and go and test them in your environment to make sure they work okay. There is a full quality review process within AppM. If you want to quality review the package, then you can do that. Takes place in the VM, and you can watch it. You can install. You can execute the package to install the application. Make sure it installs correctly. But there is a full process in this. This is just a small part of really all the functionality that exists in AppM that we're using for the assessment service. There is a lot more in here, and we'd be happy to arrange more in-depth demonstrations of it to anybody who's interested. But for the assessment service, that's what you get. You get the quick route to compatibility test your applications against a Windows 11 build, and you also get this opportunity to repackage some of your applications to new formats. So that's all I was going to show you as part of this demo. Just wanted to leave us some time at the end for questions, because I know we do have quite a few people on the call today.
Yeah, so David, I think if people can put the questions into the chat, we can answer them. We've just got a couple of final slides. So let me reshare my screen again. Okay, so you've seen the assessment service in action. So just to reiterate, it's a hardware analysis. It's a critical application analysis. We don't believe that everyone is going to test every application against Windows 11. There isn't the same level of compatibility issues that we've had in XP to 7 and 7 to 10. It's a lot lower with 10 to 11. However, we're sure that most of our customers will still want to at least belt and braces test some of these applications against the new OS. So what I wanted to do was just finalize the deck really by reiterating what this service is all about and why we built it. So firstly, we need to understand what we've got out there. We can't possibly budget and scope the project until we know exactly what we've got. And then secondly, how much of that hardware do we need to budget for as a replacement, and what do we need to do to that hardware if we're looking to make it an in-place upgrade? How do we test our applications and the critical applications as quickly as possible so that we can get the most green devices ready from an application perspective and put them into the right waves? That's the second challenge that we're trying to get over with the assessment service. And then thirdly, it's all about reducing migration disruption. So we haven't talked a lot about the Dashworks project engine as part of the assessment service, but I'd just like to say that what we've done with this assessment service is to not only stop it or not to stop it at the point at which we finish the assessment, but we wanted to take the assessment right the way through to the point of migration. So what we're doing with the assessment service is we're applying a Dashworks project template to the data that we collect as part of the assessment. We're putting that into some workflows. So workflows for replacement, for wipe and load, for in-place upgrade, and then having tasks and a self-service portal and emails that you can automatically send to your end users to actually prove the end-to-end process. So it's not just about an assessment, it's also about positioning your organization or your customer to be able to migrate as quickly as possible through a very standard and automated set of processes. So that's really the sell of this. It's not purely here's a report. It really is taking you to the level of being able to migrate. So just finally, a couple of sort of key stats that we've already seen. So a couple of our customers have already said, you know, this would take weeks, if not months, typically to do as a manual process. Just testing applications for most customers is, again, a long-term thing that have to do a lot of communications with app owners. We can save hours and hours on that process. Huge reduction in project costs by using the workplace automation. So again, don't just take the assessment and put it into a spreadsheet. Take the assessment and put it into a workflow tool. And that's exactly what we're doing here as part of the offering. And then ultimately, what's the return on investment? Well, there's a return on investment in getting this information quickly, but there's also a larger return on investment of being able to manage the program itself in a much faster, velocity-driven, data-driven approach with numerous workflows and automations off the back of it. And that's really what we're trying to push as part of this offering. Now, the final slide is just to talk a little bit about what the workplace automation concept is all about. So this is really how can we take what is typically a hugely manual set of processes, put them all into a single platform and drive all sorts of efficiencies and return on investment to reduce disruption, to reduce risk, to reduce cost, and ultimately to give our end users a better experience with these programs. So I've answered a couple of the questions as we went through. If there are any other questions that you'd like us to answer now, then let us know. I did have a poll. I was looking at the time to check whether we had time for the poll, but there is a question about AppM. So David, maybe you can take this one. So how do you protect your AppM service for building packages from supply chain attacks?
Yeah, not too sure on that one. There's something we can take away and answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, what the supply chain attack means. Yeah. Maybe if we could have a bit more information about that, we would be able to answer it. So, yes, thank you for the question, but I think we're going to have to get back to you with that. How do we customize applications if we need to inject license keys? Does AppM do that as part of the options, David?
It's not as to inject a license key. Have to look that one up actually.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think the way that would work typically is that because you're doing the install, if there's a single license key that's applicable globally, that would get taken as part of the install, and that would then become part of the package. If we needed to inject individual license keys per device, then that's a different thing and we wouldn't be able to support that out of the box. But yeah, if you need to inject a license key as part of a standard package, you just do that as part of the virtual machine installation process. So thank you for that question. All right, well, I can see that we're at 4:45. So I think if there's any other questions or any other validations that you guys would like, please let us know and we will get back to you. I hope what you've seen is of interest and that this webinar has shown how we can certainly help you accelerate that initial visual, if you like, on what Windows 11 means for your organization. And just remains for me to say, if you are interested in taking this forward, please either contact the three people that are on this call or contact your Juriba representative, come through the website. There's loads of ways to engage with us and we will be delighted to discuss with you how we can get this done for your organization. So again, thank you very much for your time. We'll be recording this if you would like to watch any of it back, and I wish you a very nice rest of the day. So thank you again, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.